much for attending my session today on inclusion, the not-so-secret secret for success. My name is Kate Brouse, and I am honored to be the Strategic Partnership Manager at NTI. NTI is a national nonprofit. We help Americans with disabilities of all kinds, including disabled veterans and family caretakers in the disability community. We help them by finding them jobs within the contact center vertical, and we are very proud that we've been doing this now for 28 years. But I love my job because I am a DEI champion. Many of you may be familiar with the DEI space, which stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. My huge push is for inclusion. I really feel that if inclusion comes first, equity and the disability inclusion and diversity follows automatically. So I'd like to start by introducing myself as a cisgender female. I am wearing navy blue. I have long blonde hair and a braid in the side of my hair. So for any of you who have visual impairments, you will understand why I have done this kind of introduction. Little things like that are just very important for people to remember. Again, accessibility issues and all of those things are helping make the world a more inclusive place to live. If you'll indulge me for just a couple of minutes, I will share with you how I started on my inclusion journey. It was 2010. I had connected with a friend from high school on Facebook, like many of us have. He had been on an interesting journey and we connected. He was a doctor that was feeling like he was a little bit disillusioned with what he was experiencing in the medical profession. And he said that he had been disillusioned by anyone that started a conversation with the phrase, well, if I were you. And I didn't really understand what he meant. And he quickly explained that if someone were actually you, if it were you that had been the doctor, then you would have lived those experiences and made the decisions that he made. Or if you were the person who was a homeless person on the street and a mother living out of your car with your young children, you would have made those decisions and that would be you. And that really made me stop and think. And so now I never use the phrase, if I were you. Instead I say, if it were me. And that just little flip of phrasing switched something on in my brain that ignited a fire and a passion within me. With the same friend, I had the conversation about the golden rule that many of you have probably heard at this point. Back when he and I were speaking in 2010, it was new to me. But the golden rule simply is wrong because I don't necessarily want to be treated the way you want to be treated. So do unto others as you would have others do unto you, maybe is the way it, should not be. We want to treat other people the way they want to be treated, even if it's just something as simple as what are the personal pronouns that you prefer. Now maybe you don't care about personal pronouns, maybe you roll your eyes, but it helps other people feel honored and seen when you treat them the way they want to be treated. And that simply is just the basis for inclusion. So that's how my journey on this inclusion road got started. And I do want to emphasize that inclusion is not a destination. Inclusion is a journey. This is a journey that should be lifelong, and this is why I am such a champion and an advocate for inclusion. This is something that I plan to do for the rest of my life. Now, the wonderful thing is that in the business world, the case is clear. There's been lots of studies, so I'm not going to quote the statistics to you, but suffice it to say that anyone who is a champion for business has to, by default, be a champion for inclusion if you are going to be considered good at your job, because diversity and inclusion makes a better workplace. When you have a diverse team, you're more innovative. Now, this is really interesting because I said the word team, and many of you, raise your hand if you've ever heard the saying, there is no I in team. Have you guys heard that before? Yeah, there is no I in team. I would love to flip that on its head, because if everyone in the team is not bringing their I, their self to the team, then your team might all be the same. And how would it be if you are on a sports team and everybody everybody had the identical skill. It wouldn't be a good team. So in your teams, when you're building teams at work, you want to think of it like you would in a sports team. You want there to be different talents, different abilities, and different diversity. Why? Because you cannot play the same part that another person can play. You want your teams to be as diverse as possible because that will help your employees be better. It will help the people that you serve, whether you are serving customers or whether you are serving other business-to-business clients. All of those initiatives that help you reach diversity help your teams be more successful and think outside the box. So the thing that makes us human is actually our ability to communicate one with another. The thing that's beautiful is that this ability to communicate has enabled us to have lots of various cultures all around the world. I've had the ability to travel and the luxury of traveling around the world, as I'm sure many of you have had that same experience. And sometimes you interact with a culture and you don't understand it. Well, how can you learn to understand it? Simply through communication. It's no different in the workforce, except sometimes in the workforce we are dealing with employees and coworkers and managers and people who are serving under us that we don't understand. We may not understand the way that they communicate and or the things that they communicate to us may make us very uncomfortable. So that basis for communication is being able to talk and understand, but even more important than talking is listening. My great friend Nate Brown, who works with Arise, was on a panel with me earlier this morning and he expressed it beautifully. He said that he had jumped right into a situation thinking that he had some really great information and ideas on how to help. And it turned out that it just became a cesspool because he didn't actually take the time to listen. So if you take nothing else away from this session, understand the importance of listening. I'm going to share a scenario with you that some of you may have heard of. This happened just last year in Spain. The travel industry in Spain and the tourism council decided that they wanted to invite everyone to come vacation on the beaches of Spain. They had an inclusion campaign that when it first came out was getting really great press for the first 2 or 3 days. Within 2 or 3 days, everything turned from really positive for body inclusivity to a screeching halt because they made a big mistake. The mistake was that the person that they hired to create the campaign for them used pictures of women without their permission. Now, this is going to sound shocking to you, but this is simply somebody who had good intentions at heart but did not listen to the community that she was going to be serving. So she used someone who was a disability advocate in the UK who is fiercely proud of the fact that she has a prosthetic leg. Do you know what they did in the ad? They photoshopped out her prosthetic leg. In the ad was a woman who had had a bilateral mastectomy after having surgery for breast cancer. Her face was photoshopped onto a woman who only had one breast instead of no breasts. She was so upset. She didn't have any breasts and she was pictured as having one. Another woman was a plus-size model in the UK and she was very proud of her image, but they used it without her consent. So the artist had all the best intentions. She wanted to show that she was being inclusive. The problem was that she did not listen to and talk to the community that she was serving. So this is what's so important. So if you are looking to make your teams and your companies more diverse, the first thing you have to do is listen. Listen is the number one thing. Okay, so after you listen and you go out and you talk to those people, what is going to be the next thing? You're going to enact a plan. Or not, you don't want to enact, you just want to plan. You want to have a plan and then you want to go back and listen again and get feedback. So what happens is that if you jump into those things, you're going to create potential PR nightmares. Now, the woman who had been responsible for this campaign in Spain, she apologized. Everything worked okay. She ended up donating the entire amount that she had made on this project, being paid from the Tourism Council, to diversity diversity and inclusion initiatives, and she apologized. But how much easier would it have been if she had just simply been inclusive from the start? So when you're wanting to include your employees in things, make sure that you are asking them. Now, how do you know who you need to include in your workforce? How do you know who you should be reaching out to find more diverse talent? You simply just need to look around your workforce and find out who is missing, who is underrepresented, what employee resource groups do you have, what employee resource groups do you need to start. So at a minimum, you should probably be having employee resource groups for people in the LGBTQAI+ community. You should be having employee resource groups for BIPOC populations. You should have them for people with disabilities. You should have them for single parents and for people who are going through difficult periods in their life. You might want to have them for people who are aging. You might want to have them for your younger employees. And it's really important to get cross support. So you want to be inviting people from your employees with disabilities group to attend your other ERG groups as well. So when you can get that cross-pollination and that feedback, you want to have a very healthy employee resource group program. That is a really great way to start. So you're going to listen to your employees. You're going to make sure that you have resource group programs that are meeting their needs. And then you're going to make sure that you are planning and getting feedback before you implement any of the plans. Now, how you do this at each individual organization is going to vary. Sometimes you're going to be sending out emails. Sometimes you're going to be sending anonymous surveys. Sometimes you're going to be picking up the phone and talking to the people on the front line. But here's something really important is that these inclusion efforts cannot just be about the front line. You can't just have the C-suite and the director saying, you know what, we are going to become very inclusive on the front line because that's going to make us more money. It's going to make us look better, and we're going to hit our diversity targets because diversity and inclusion are not the same thing. Diversity is simply about metrics. You can have very great diversity and have no inclusion. Now, here's a great story to illustrate that. This happened with Abercrombie & Fitch. I'm sure all of you recognize that name. Once upon a time, they were a great brand, but their whole idea of the person who was running the company at the time, Mike Jeffries, was he wanted to be exclusive. He wanted to be something that only a few people could have. You know what? You cannot fault Mike Jeffries for feeling that way because that is what is hardwired into our DNA. We are hardwired as humans to be exclusive. We are hardwired to look at somebody outside of our community and think that person could be a threat to me. They might be somebody that is going to take away resources from the community that I love. So we have to fight against our instincts. We have to learn to become uncomfortable when we are going to have these inclusion initiatives. So for those of you who know, you will remember that Abercrombie & Fitch they lost a lawsuit and they were required to hire somebody who was going to be the VP of diversity. They increased their diversity hiring, but their company culture did not change. They kept hiring people who were diverse, but they didn't put them on the sales floor. They kept them back in the stock rooms. They didn't want them to be seen. And so the person who was hired for the VP of diversity at Abercrombie & Fitch did end up leaving because the company culture did not change. So this is something really important. Diversity can be measured, but that is not the end goal. Like I mentioned in the beginning, the end goal is inclusion. What is inclusion? Inclusion is human well-being. How do you feel when you're included? You feel happy. So if you can bring your whole self to work, that makes you feel better. Now here's something else that's really important to remember is that some of your employees, especially those from younger generations, are going to feel very comfortable bringing their whole selves to work. It is something that they are probably going to demand from their employers. They are going to want to work for employers who have initiatives that align with their cultural and personal values. And that's great. You may have employees, especially of the older generation, who are whole selves to work, and that also is okay. You want to create this safe place where they can understand. You can share as much or as little as you want. In today's world, it's becoming increasingly important to meet employees where they are and to align with their values, because people want to work for employers that align with the values that they have. And something very easy that all of us have experienced is just simply think about how the source of coffee has changed. I'm a huge coffee drinker. I love coffee. It makes my day, and I will pay extra to make sure that I am sourcing my coffee in a fair trade way, where I know that it's being grown sustainably and where everyone from the workers to the baristas are being paid a fair wage, because that aligns with my values. And so inclusion really is about the values of your company. If your company problem is that you can't keep employees, and so you keep trying to reach out and hire diverse talent, but you keep losing it, your problem isn't sourcing a diverse talent team. Your problem is your company culture. So look around, and company culture starts with your brand. So if your brand isn't aligned with the company values that you want your employees to bring to the table, then that's where you need to be starting. Inclusion is so important in today's world. And something that I would love to mention is that the disability community, remembering that I work for NTI and we are very big within the disability community, the disability community co-opted a saying that actually started in Eastern Europe and Central Europe, as far as we can tell, in the 1400s. And the saying is nothing about us without us. So that's now a really important hashtag that is used across all social media. And so if you don't remember anything else, you need to remember the listening and nothing about us without us. It simply means if you want to hire inclusive people, you need to ask them what they want. So if you are looking around your company culture and you are realizing that you are not having enough BIPOC representation, those of you who aren't familiar with the term BIPOC, that is Black, Indigenous, and people of color. So if you're looking around and you are seeing a lack of those people in your workforce, then reach out to the community and find some organizations that support BIPOC populations and say, look, we really want to help our company become more inclusive. Where do you suggest that we go to find the great talent? Because it is not true that there is just no talent out there. Some of you have heard this. Oh, well, we would like to hire from the BIPOC community, but we just can't find the talent we need in the tech world. That's a lie. The talent is out there in every community that you can imagine. When you want to be inclusive, you can find that talent. So how can you find it? Well, you may simply need to think about where you're posting your jobs. If you're only posting on LinkedIn or using Indeed, which are great platforms, that you need to maybe think about how else you can advertise those jobs. Maybe you need to be making YouTube videos. Maybe you need to be finding the hashtags that are out there within the communities that you're trying to target and posting your hashtag we are hiring, hashtag BIPOC to be reaching those, or hashtag nothing about us without us. Get creative in your sourcing and your talent acquisition, and there are so many different ways. If you are interested in some of those, we at NTI would love to connect with you and help you understand some of the different opportunities that are out there. So I would love to share another organization with you that had an experience with inclusion. I mentioned that I love coffee, and so I'm going to turn to Starbucks. Many of you will remember a few years ago, Starbucks had an incident in Philadelphia where there were two Black men who were simply in the coffee house that they had been before waiting for somebody. The manager said, hey, you need to buy something or leave. You can't use the restrooms here. And they ended up being all of their stores nationwide on a day to have diversity training. And guess what? It wasn't led from the top down. It was grassroots, from the bottom up. They asked their team members who had diverse backgrounds to help them learn from one another. And then they took it a step further. They made all of that information on how they actually made the changes people in their communities. They made it available for their employees to take home and share. They made it available for other businesses, and it's still available. So Starbucks did a great job with their diversity initiatives. And this is what's so beautiful about this community in which we live, is that you can make a mistake and you can come back from it and still be strong. Some companies make a mistake and fall flat on their face, but some use it as a great opportunity to turn themselves around. So we have all these different hidden talent pools that we say, we need to figure out how to find these people. The talent pools, these people in these talent pools, they are not hidden because they're saying, no, I don't want a job, please, I'm hiding behind my door, don't find me. They're hidden. Why? Because the talent management systems that we use often screen them out of consideration. Because over the years, talent acquisition has changed. We've needed to get really good and really fast at sourcing talent. And so we have screened out from consideration all of the candidates that are perfectly capable while looking for the perfect candidate. And for sometimes that works, but in today's tight labor market, we need to reopen some of those thought processes about how are we screening out the talent that really might be great. And so the solution is to filter in, and a lot of times when you are trying to attract people with disabilities or diversity or from underserved populations, you might need to recruit in a different way. And the best way that we have found in NTI is to simply bring a human into the process. Don't make it those automated systems, because sometimes, especially in the underserved community, if they are only meeting 6 out of the 10 requirements that you may have, they may say, oh, I don't think I should apply for that job. When in reality, they may have crazy skills that have given them the ability to apply for and succeed at those jobs, and they may just not recognize it. So a perfect example would be a mom who has recently come back into the workforce, and maybe she has been a president of the PTA, and maybe she's coordinated the carpooling for her kids' soccer club for the past 7 years, and she has crazy mad skills in organization and reaching out and communicating and advocating, but she doesn't think to put those on her resume. And when you bring a person into the recruitment process and you can say, what kind of skills do you have? What kind of experiences might make you a great fit for our organization? Those are great ways to find and keep talent and allow people to bring their whole selves to work. So you want to be looking for skills-based hiring instead of saying, we require a bachelor's degree and 3 years of experience doing the call center work before we're going to give you these jobs. Those simply aren't necessary in today's world. So the reality is that we need to change the way that we do business. CVS is a great example. I like to point them out because they are big within the disability community, which is what NTI serves. So 1 in 4 Americans has a disability. That's a huge number of people. And so what CVS did is they looked around and they said, if 1 in 4 Americans has a disability, then 1 in 4 of our employees should have a disability. And they said, how can we change this? So if you're looking for inspiration, CVS is a great company to look to. They looked at their sourcing all the way through their talent acquisition and hiring and onboarding, and they figured out where were the problems, the accessibility, and they changed that. And that's really important when you are looking for new solutions and you just don't know what to do. Look for successful companies. A lot of them are listed on indexes, and companies that are successful from hiring from these hidden communities, these hidden talent pools that are simply just screened out of consideration, they're always very glad to share their information. I would like to just share a couple things with you. If you are interested in learning more, SHRM is a great resource. For those of you who are not in the HR community, you might not know what SHRM stands for. It is the Society for Human Resource Management, and they have a website. It's untappedtalentshirm.org, and you can go there, and they have courses that anyone can take for for free. You don't have to be a human resource professional. Anyone can take these courses for free. They have 3 that are available. One to help you hire people with disabilities, one to help you hire people who have been incarcerated, and one to help you hire people who are associated with past service or current service in the military, including spouses of military service members. And all of those are available for free. Another great resource is the Valuable 500. For those of you who don't know that, it's an awesome story. Caroline Casey found out when she was 17 years old that she was blind from birth. She did not know that she was legally blind from birth until her 17th birthday. Her parents did not want her to grow up with a disability. And so she found out on her 17th birthday. For about 10 years she had different careers and she tried different things, that she finally hit a wall because she had been fighting so hard not to acknowledge that she was disabled. Look up her story. She had a moment of, what am I? Who am I? And she decided that she wanted to be Mowgli from the Jungle Book. So she literally rode 1,000 kilometers across India on an elephant. She came back. She founded a company called the Valuable 500. It started just a few years ago. She recruited 500 CEOs across the world who were willing to commit to change, to include the disability community. They are the current company to watch if you want to be an inclusive organization and you have not yet followed them. Please look up Caroline Casey and the Valuable 500. There is so much information. I am so passionate about this, as are many of my coworkers at NTI. We are right over in the 2000 aisle, even though we are booth 3037. And so if you are interested in learning more about how to find and hire people with disabilities, we would love to help you, even if you are not looking to partner with us. We have so many great ideas because we're passionate about what we do, because inclusion makes us all better, and inclusion leads to better business outcomes. So even if you're not in this because you are like, yes, inclusion is the right and moral thing to do, which is what I feel, you need to do it because it is the right thing to do for business. Inclusive businesses simply make more money, have better employee retention, and have higher customer satisfaction. Thank you so much for listening today. If any of you have questions, I do have a couple minutes left. Feel free to ask them.